The bat signal has been lit. Go through the grandfather clock, secret entrance, and head back to the Batcave. It's time to revisit the Batman animated series with your hosts, Adam and the Emerald Enthusiast.
Welcome to another episode of Back to the Batcave, revisiting Batman, the animated series. Today, I'm with my co-host, the Emerald Enthusiast, Donnie, who covers Batman, but he doesn't cover Old Spooky as often as he likes to call him, as often as he does Green Lantern. But he's here today, and we're doing a special, let's call it a Christmas in June episode. We're going to cover some Christmas episodes. Particularly Christmas with the Joker, Holiday Nights, and then the JLU episode, Comfort and Joy. Donnie, it's a special reason, special purpose for this episode, so take it away, sir.
So we have a very special dedication for this episode. The reason why we're doing this is a very special young man in my life. My college roommate of over 30 years ago, who has become like a brother to me. We graduated together in 1995, and his youngest son, whose name is Logan, is fighting a battle that few of us can possibly fathom. Logan, unfortunately, has childhood cancer, and he has been battling this now for well over a year, about 15 months now. And one of his favorite characters is Batman. And Logan calls me his uncle, and of course I call him my nephew because I love him so much. And I know that he really likes Batman the animated series and some of the old Batman animated shows. And so when I talked to his father, I said, hey, what's his favorite? And he immediately said Christmas with the Joker. And I, went to Adam and I said, hey, why don't we give him an early Christmas present? Let's do an episode that includes that, as well as some of the other Batman-related and Justice League-related Christmas episodes from that era. So we're going to cover 3 different episodes from that time. We're going to go with Christmas with the Joker, Holiday Nights, and Comfort and Joy from the Justice League. And this is all for you, Logan. Hopefully you'll get to listen to this, whether it's in the hospital or on the way to one of your many treatments. Buddy, I hope you enjoy this, because this is something that's podcasting and making videos is near and dear to my heart. So this is something from me, and this is something from Adam and I to you. And you've been an inspiration as far as fighting this illness and finding the courage. It's very superhero-like. So I hope you enjoy this.
If I could just say something for Logan. If I remember correctly, you told me that his father named him after Wolverine, who of course is
named Logan, named him after Wolverine. Yes.
Now, I just want to say a couple of things. So, obviously, the character Wolverine, Logan, is Canadian. So I will say that Logan, your nephew, is a honorary Canadian in my book. Also, I think it's pretty cool that he's named after Wolverine. Right? I mean, if you're going to have a name and carry a name, that's a pretty cool one to carry.
Yes.
See, like, my name, Adam, comes from my brother and my sister picked it. And it's from Adam and Eve, right? So, when I walk around, I'm the guy that caused sin for humanity. Thanks a lot for that one. But it could have been worse. They wanted to name me Rice Krispie. But Logan, can you imagine if I was a DJ Rice Krispie? Anyway. But so Logan I think he got the cool end of the stick with the name, right? That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And even cooler for your Logan is the fact that he's a Batman fan. That's top tier characters.
He is a huge Batman fan, and we've had quite a few conversations over the years about Batman. I told him Green Lantern was better than Batman one time, and
that's preposterous. That's what that is. I agree with you, Logan. That's insanity talking. But And the cool thing is, I know you like. Donnie told me you like Batman the animated series, and I got to tell you, outside of the comic books, I think that's Batman the animated series is the best version of Batman.
Well, and I even told that to Logan one time. I said, so many generations of fans, unlike a lot of the live action movies where people kind of, they kind of get into camps, which I think is silly, by the way, but that's a different podcast. Everybody likes this series. I have yet to meet a Batman fan who's like, yeah, I don't like the animated series. This was something that was part of kind of rebranding Batman as kind of a serious hero that wasn't exact that kind of a departure from the 60s camp. That was kind of the public perception. We
Yeah,
get Batman 89, we get Batman Returns, and then we get this that really set the stage for so many generations of Batman fans to enjoy the character with a darker tone.
and this was '92, right? This
Yes.
series, Batman is it?
Yes.
And so you said Logan's 10 now.
Yes.
You know what's funny, Logan, is that I was about 9 or 10 when I started watching this show. I'm really old now,
Yeah.
but I was 10 when I started watching the show. So that's kind of cool.
Well, his dad and I would watch the animated series in our dorm room
Yeah.
because we didn't feel like it was a show geared only towards kids. There was so much.
Donnie's older than me, so that's good. I mean, that's at least but but yeah, I see we all have this see, and that's the important thing. Logan. We all have, no matter how old we are, we all have this show in common. And you know what's even cooler? You like Christmas a lot, and I like Christmas. It's my favorite time of the
Oh,
year.
you betcha. Yeah, I always say that I have this inner clock that is always telling me, regardless of the time of year, how close Christmas
Yeah,
is.
exactly. I agree, 100%. So, again, you got the hat trick of cool. You got a really cool name named after Wolverine. Batman's your favorite superhero. Another great choice, and you like Christmas. So I think you're a cool dude, and I think you're a fighter because Batman fans are fighters. So
Yeah,
no matter,
he has always like whenever I get to go to see him, which unfortunately I wish we don't live that close to one another.
yeah.
I don't get to see him as much as I'd like to, but whenever I get to go to my friend's house, I mean, I am always just absolutely elated to see his face. And
So
um, yeah, and there was one time in particular I remember that he opened the door and he was like, and he calls me, his uncle, and he opens the door and just runs out and gives me a hug, and that's
that's
something
awesome.
that's
Yeah.
burned into my brain because the kid had just such a big heart.
So Logan, I got to tell you, no matter what, you're carrying the legacy of Wolverine and Batman. So fight as hard as you can, always, no matter what, because you're a superhero, and this one's for you. So here we go.
All right, we're going to start out with the episode Christmas with the Joker, which originally aired November 13th, 1992.
Mm.
And it opens with a very famous scene, Arkham Asylum on Christmas Eve. We see the inmates singing the familiar Christmas carol, Jingle Bells. But Joker has a very different take on this. Of course, he sings Jingle Bells, Batman smells, Robin laid an egg, the Batmobile lost its wheel, and the Joker got away. And as he does this, he uses the Christmas tree as a rocket to shoot out of the top of Arkham Asylum.
I can say, while I don't agree with his lyrical choice for Jingle Bells, a Christmas tree with a rocket in it is kind of cool.
It really was cool. I was like, now, how did none of the guards notice? But, let's not ask too many questions. Just
This
because
is not the Christopher Nolan version of Batman. We don't need to explain it.
I also wondered, I was like, how is he steering it? Because he's flying over Gotham with that tree. And I was like, how is he steering the Christmas tree?
Yeah. I mean, logically, it doesn't make sense, but it's cool.
But let me just say this, too. I've talked with you in the past. I haven't always the anatomical designs of the Timverse. I don't think they work for every character, but because they look a little off, I think they work actually for Batman and this series better than they do for other characters. And the Joker is one in particular because just the way he looks, just a little, again, definitely uh, just very odd.
Right.
And seeing this episode and seeing that particular scene, which again, has become the stuff of legend among comic book fans, is I think it just works really well. And again, the dark backdrops I think lend themselves well to this type of storytelling. And also, I really like seeing the contrast, which we're going to talk about here, between Batman's point of view and Robin's point of view.
Yeah, I did. So just to your point on the design, I will say I like when it was Batman the animated series, but when they kind of tweaked their design to what I guess it was the New Adventures of Batman and Robin.
Yes,
I think that's what it was called. I was not as keen on those designs because the style changed a bit, but for this, yeah, for this was cool. And I liked how they started framing it with like the episodes framed with the fact that Bruce had never seen It's a Wonderful Life because he couldn't get past the title. Which I'm like, man, it's such a Bruce Wayne thing to do. And for years I had never seen It's a Wonderful Life either, but I felt okay with it because of this episode. Because, well, if Batman hasn't seen it, what do I need to watch it for?
well, and it does speak to Batman's character that he feels constantly driven to be on this mission, and he can't really visualize and identify with a life that is positive because of what happened to his parents.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're going to see that play out here because at Wayne Manor, we see Dick Grayson. He tries to get Bruce to watch It's a Wonderful Life. And of course, they end up watching the Joker, who is broadcasting and, is calling Batman out. They go on their mission to try to stop the Joker, but it's, Joker's plan is multifaceted. Yeah. And it's not that easy to track the Joker down. And Batman, he has to do this by midnight because Joker has 3 hostages.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about that whole setup of like basically commandeering the TV station and all that stuff, that is a callback to Joker's original appearance when he, back in the comics, I think it was 1940 or whatever it was, something along those lines, where he commandeered a radio station, right, and talked about having a hostage and threatening to I don't know what we're allowed to say on YouTube or not, but to do something not very nice to that person. So it's very much in the spirit of his first appearance, that aspect of it.
And we see that the 3 hostages of the Joker, it's Commissioner Gordon, Summer Gleason, and Harvey Bullock, who are dressed up as the awful, lawful family, including Harvey Bullock dressed up as a baby, which is a very disturbing image.
It really is, yeah.
But yeah, so we see that that's what the Joker is threatening to do. Of course, he's going to kill them by midnight if Batman doesn't figure out where he is and come to save them.
Yeah, I like I said, I really like that aspect in the sense that it kind of played to his origins. Like, it was a callback to his comic origin, so I really like that.
And one of the things that we see, again, the Joker's plan is multifaceted. At the same time, Batman is going towards, is trying to find where the Joker was at because he's using his skill to like home in on places that might be broadcasting at this point. That the Joker uses 2 henchmen named Donder and Blitzen to blow up a bridge, and so they have to reroute to deal with that situation before they can go after the Joker.
Yeah, and I was impressed with how layered and multifaceted this plan of the Joker's was. For somebody as crazy as the Joker is, right, and off the handle as he is, this is a very elaborate plan.
Well, he can be that way. And like I said, this never, even as a young adult at the time, this series never felt like it was dumbing things down.
Right, yeah, no, it was very...
The audience. You could watch this as an adult and enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure.
So the Batmobile's computer is able to pinpoint where the Joker is, and that ends up being the Gotham Observatory.
Mm.
And so they drive there, and of course, it's not as simple as just bursting in and finding the Joker there. The place is booby trapped with many toys.
And you know what was kind of creepy to me was the giant the Nutcracker soldiers.
Yeah, yes,
Like, that's disturbing.
yeah. The Jokers with those soldiers with like the gun fingers.
Yeah.
That again, that was. I would like to see what that looks like in live action. That would be really cool.
Well, hey, listen, under James Gunn's purview, we may get to see that.
Yeah, you never know. These kind of things can work themselves out.
Yeah.
So it turns out that the Joker's pirated signal was not broadcasting from here. And I mentioned this earlier. It wasn't broadcast from the Gotham Observatory. So now there's not a lot of time left until midnight. And I like this idea of watching them kind of work against the clock because you know the Joker has no issues with hurting somebody and hurting them
Not. Yeah.
and hurting them in an awful way. And I was like, yeah, could possibly one of them die before Batman's able to make it to them? I do remember having that thought when I was originally watching this.
Sure, yeah, because in this series, like you see when a gun fires, at least in the early seasons, you actually see the bullet, the bullets flying. Right?
What actually turns the trick here is that during one of the broadcasts, we see that Batman is able to see that Joker is playing with a Betty Blooper doll, which is obviously based on Betty Boop.
Yes.
But I like the fact that Batman then immediately is able to use this like magnificent mind of his that has all of these various odd facts cataloged, and he's like, yeah. So now he knows it's called the LAFCO Toy Factory, and this is the place I was talking about.
Yeah.
With the clown on it, he was like, okay, that kind of doll hasn't been made for a while. I know where the Joker is, and they're able to set off for LAFCO, which is where the hostages are being held.
Right. And I like how he delegates to Robin. It's like, okay, you get some of the hostages free, and I'll go after the Joker. Mm-hmm. And then I just love the part where in the stare down with the Joker, there's a vat of chemicals at play, which I think is a nice kind of touch.
That is the Joker's end game, is to drop the awful lawful family into like this giant boiling vat
of acid or something.
Of course, Batman is able to save them at the last second, but it was again, it was a very close call, written very well, and again, the voice acting here from people like Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill is just magnificent.
And the vat of acid thing was cool because it's like I could be wrong, but I don't know that I am. It's a callback to '89, if with Joker falling into the vat of acid. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and everybody who knows me knows how much I love Batman '89. So, yeah, I really like that touch, and of course, Batman saves the day. Batman and Robin save the day.
And not only do they save the day, the Joker tries to get away, and he slips on a roller skate and nearly falls into the boiling vat himself. And at the last moment, and this was a brilliant character moment, Batman reaches out and grabs him because Batman never wants anyone to die unnecessarily. So if he can save someone, he does save someone.
Even if it's Joker,
I think that was more painful for Joker than anything because, not only does Batman foil his plan, but then he saves him.
Yeah.
And, and Batman looks at him and he's like, "Merry Christmas, Joker."
Yeah. And then, I love that it came full circle and ended with them actually watching It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. And Bruce taking on a cheerier attitude towards the end. He doesn't have his parents, but he does have Alfred, and he does have Robin. Yeah. And I also like the image of the Joker at the end in the straitjacket, singing Christmas Carol from Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen. Uh, Everybody gets in the Christmas spirit, even if you're the Joker, I guess, at some point. Right? Christmas is the great equalizer. It makes everybody
Yeah.
change their mood once a year.
And like I said, I really like the art in this, the way they use the Christmas motif. You know, Joker's not wearing his usual garb. He's wearing a red sweater,
Yeah, Christmas
and you
sweater.
know, the
Yeah.
awful family dressed up like Christmas presents with bows, and they really utilize that effectively in this episode.
Oh yeah, it's this episode has become one of my yearly Christmas watches. It's in my rotation, so I love it. Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to move on, as we said we would,
to Holiday Nights, part of the new Batman Adventures.
And again, it's the animation is a little bit of a downgrade for me personally, um, from the original series, but the stories themselves were good. And this episode's fun in the sense that it's a three mini episodes in one. Right?
yeah, it's a composite of different stories on different days
Yeah,
around the Christmas season.
yeah.
And go ahead, sir.
No. And the first one is surrounding Bruce Wayne being apprehended by Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy.
Yes. It starts out on December 22nd,
Yeah.
and we see the tandem of Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, which have obviously they have grown as a pair in the comics and in various forms of media to be
Yeah.
a couple.
Yeah.
But at this point, they're spending the holidays in like this
I
scuzzy
ship these two, by the way. Just want to point that out. You know, I don't use that terminology often, but I ship these two.
I mean, they make a very entertaining pair.
Yeah.
But Harley wants a Christmas tree, and Ivy refuses because she calls it, and I don't think I've ever heard this phrase before, botanical genocide.
Oh God.
And so she's like, absolutely not. And later on, we catch up with Bruce, who is at a party, and many suitors. It probably a lot like Adam and his multiverse wives. They see they
I
see
don't know
Bruce.
if you know what this is, but this is my lucky pen, and every time one of my multiverse voices on the screen, I click it, and there it is, just for you.
So they vie to get him underneath the mistletoe and give him a kiss, but on his way out, he's intercepted by Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn.
The question is, how many of those girls got a kiss? Because I would have stopped for each and every one. Listen, you got to spread. It's Christmas time. You got to spread the ball. And there's a mistletoe. You can't go against tradition. That's what I say. So
Poison Ivy puts Bruce under her control, and I really like the facial expressions through this. Like Bruce was fighting so hard against her control.
Yeah, wouldn't have been me. I would have just given into the whole thing. But because I'm picturing like when this is going on, I'm imagining Margot Robbie and Uma Thurman. I'm like, yeah, I'm not saying no. Like everybody asks me, where would you want to live, right? If you were in a fictional city, where would you want to live, Metropolis or Gotham? And I always say Gotham because listen, the chance of me getting kidnapped by Catwoman, Poison Ivy, or Harley Quinn are high. And like the Joker said in '89, if you got to go with a smile. So that's my logic. I mean, Metropolis, what's going to happen? Nothing. Superman's there.
I definitely would not want to live in Gotham because there are always there are always supervillains up to no good.
And then the funny part is
damage.
Funny part is, Donnie, if I got kidnapped by, let's say, Poison Ivy, Catwoman, and Harley Quinn, if Batman and Robin showed up to save me, I'd be like, get out of here. What's for you to get here? Go see somebody else. Have some time. But though, again, it's just me. But you carry on.
So, as Bruce is fighting against Poison Ivy's control, he backs up when she tries to give him another dose of this
Mm.
lipstick, and he falls down an elevator shaft, and they think that he's dead. But of course, it's Bruce Wayne. He's managed to save himself.
Considering he's Batman and all, yeah, that's a really cool costume change. The way they did that was cool.
Yeah, and I like that, Harley sees him out of the back of their car, and she's like, this is a great night except for him.
Mm.
And here's Batman, swinging in
The great
to
shot,
capture
yeah.
the pair.
It's a great shot, great shot. And then I love how in the end the tree falls on them, and that's what is able for Batman to apprehend them. And then Poison Ivy's like, "See, happy now? You got your tree."
Yeah, Batman uses his grappling hook to knock over a giant Christmas tree. And Harley, even though they're like trapped under this, she's happy because she finally has a tree.
Yeah. That was pretty funny. And what's interesting is this show, the Batman the Animated Series in general, was able to strike that fine line between the comics, the Burton era, and also a little bit of the '66 Batman, because the giant trees and the giant Nutcracker people, that's more in line with the '60s show than it would be. But it managed to balance all those different tones very well. So yeah.
This was definitely a lighter tone. Actually,
Yeah.
interesting piece of
Fun,
trivia here.
though.
They had to go back to the drawing board and reanimate some of the scenes with Harley Quinn because she was sitting in her hotel room and wearing, not just her underwear and basically they were like, you know what, that might be a little too much for a kid show. I think we better put her in like some shorts.
Yeah. They made that. They initially drew it for 41-year-old me, while 10-year-old me was watching it. So they were a little ahead of schedule with that one. Yeah.
So the narrative jumps to December 24th, and in Mayfield's department store, we see that Barbara Gordon is purchasing a new tie for her father as a Christmas gift when all of a sudden chaos breaks loose. And Harvey Bullock is also there playing Santa.
He's undercover.
And
yeah. He's undercover. That's why he's
he is undercover, but it's very obviously him. I mean, if you
yeah.
He's not the most convincing Santa, but I liked it.
No. He's very. You can tell he's not happy to be there at first.
Yeah, it's not his favorite assignment.
Right.
So we see then a character who it was interesting at the time because if you remember in the Batman animated series, it seemed like Clayface had died during that series. But he's also a very resilient type of villain because of his Clayface makeup.
Yeah,
and he shows back up, and that was a really cool scene watching Barbara, do the quick change into Batgirl because she has to like run and find a corner
in the middle of an aisle of a department store.
That is out of the way enough so she can make her change into that.
Yeah. And it was funny because I like the inclusion of Clayface, just because of all the talk around the Clayface movie that's coming. So that's kind of, and apparently the movie is going to be heavily inspired by his Batman the Animated Series origin. So
Clayface begins tearing through the place, and he's also. He has some helpers here. There are 4 child bandits who are stealing things, and the goods are kind of hidden in Clayface's body.
Yeah.
But Montoya and Bullock arrive on the scene, and with Batgirl, they electrocute Clayface, and they're able to recover the stolen goods.
I like that this was a Batgirl-centric portion.
Mm-hmm.
And Batman didn't even show up at all, but I didn't mind because the story was so good.
Yeah. So, and now we're going to jump to December 31st. What did you think? One thing I didn't like about this was the design change for the Joker. I thought he looked better on the animated series than he did on these.
Like I said, I think to me, once they switched to the New Adventures of Batman and Robin or whatever they rebranded it to, I think the animation style as a whole takes a dip. Like, I love it when it's Batman the Animated Series. But when it becomes the New Adventures of Batman and Robin, there is a decrease in quality for me anyway. But again, I can't draw.
Especially visually.
Yeah,
There were still some good stories, but
yeah,
visually, this
right.
wasn't as good as the animated series.
Agreed. Yeah.
So we jump to New Year's Eve, and in Commissioner Gordon's office, Batman and Robin are looking at a tape where the Joker says he makes a promise to not kill anyone in the coming year, so he better get started and kill a whole bunch of people today, which is a very Joker thing to say.
Isn't he very magnanimous then? I mean, like, well, okay, for next year I'll be good, but for tonight, everybody's screwed. You know what I noticed about this episode, and I've watched this, like I said, this is part of my Christmas rotation. So I've watched it plenty of times, but the whole thing about the planting the bomb in Gotham Square in the middle of, just before New Year's, that is almost not verbatim, but close, pulled right out of a chapter from The Long Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm betting that was a purposeful nod. But I liked it.
Go ahead.
But I liked it. So yeah.
Yeah. So what we see here is that the Joker has taken this weapon. It's a sonic-based weapon, and it's from a scientist named Dr. Erickson.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that, like what you were talking about, that Joker is going to use this to set off a bomb during the countdown.
Yeah.
And so now, again, we have this situation of Batman and Robin racing against the clock to stop this huge plot that's going to cost a lot of people their lives.
Right. And the interesting thing too, I think that adds to the kind of friendship for Batman and Robin is the fact that Joker's got Joker masks for everybody, so it's hard to pick him out of a crowd, right?
Yeah, that's what makes the Joker so dangerous, is that even though he's crazy, he's also very resourceful. He's very intelligent. And so what he does here, he has all of these Joker masks. So even when Batman and Robin catch up to him, it's not easy to pick him out initially. Although Batman eventually spies him with his batnoculars.
but again, I like the fact that Batman's able to, discern who the real Joker is by using his detective skill, which is nice to see them employ in this show. Whatever they do.
I also like the action here between, fighting the Joker's henchmen. There was a lot of good give and take between, Batman and Robin, and they actually get the upper hand for a while. Batman's temporarily knocked out, and Robin's worried. So yeah, like I said, I never felt insulted by this show. You get a lot of very dramatic moments, even though it is an animated show.
Agreed, and that fight sequence, the action sequence, really shows why Batman needs a Robin at this point.
And so Batman, he's able to foil the Joker's plan, but because as the bell is rising to ring for New Year's, the Joker is having this, he's standing over Batman and he's gloating, and Batman is able to grab the bottle of champagne that he has, and he sprays it all over the controls.
Yeah.
And the wires explode and the bell falls on the Joker.
So you got foiled again at the last minute, like Joker foreshadowed.
And I really liked Joker's moment too, because you could actually see him from the bell is cracked, and you could see him from inside the bell. And after this huge bell falls on him, he's like, "Ouch!"
Yeah, that was pretty funny. And again, that mainly works because of Mark Hamill's vocal delivery.
Mark Hamill has just such. I know that we think Mark Hamill, we immediately go to Luke Skywalker, but he has had such a magnificent voice acting career.
Because when I grew up, he was the Joker. He was the Joker. Yeah. Before I watched Star Wars, right? I watched Batman the Animated Series, so for me, he's the Joker.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, he definitely has earned it, because I still hear. I've talked to you before, as a lot of comic fans do, when you read a comic,
Yeah.
often you will hear a voice that you've heard on a show or in a movie as that character.
Yeah.
So, maybe you hear somebody like Mark Hamill when you're reading the Joker, you hear that type of voice in your head.
I absolutely do. And when I read Batman, I emulate poorly because I can't do it, but I emulate Kevin Conroy's voice. Like I imagine it's Kevin Conroy, the sound of Kevin Conroy. So to me, that when I read, those are the two voices, those two characters, those are two voices I hear. I can't hear Christian Bale just because then I'll want to do the voice and I can't. So I'm never going to try. And every time Batman or somebody says Martha in the comic, I think of you, Don.
I don't use that name.
But no, I really, you know what I liked, especially about this episode, the end when he meets up with Gordon.
I was just getting ready to say that. I think that was my favorite part of this episode is that we see that Commissioner Gordon and Batman have this yearly ritual that they meet on New Year's Day and they have a cup of coffee at Joe's Tavern.
Yeah.
And this year, Batman's a little bit later, but he comes in and they have a cup of coffee, which, by the way, Batman really must have slammed that coffee. And I really wouldn't advise that, slamming hot coffee, but because, Commissioner Gordon is like talking to Joe, and all of a sudden he looks back and Batman is gone again.
Batman's gone, the money's there, and to pay for the bill. And I like Commissioner goes, one day I'm gonna get to the bill first.
Exactly.
And in my head, I'm like, no, you won't. If you only knew, he's Bruce Wayne. Those 2 cups of coffee are like cents to him.
Yeah, exactly. If he, if he wanted to buy his own like factory to make, coffee and other goods like that, he certainly could.
Sure.
But I like that humanizing effect that he and Jim Gordon have such a respect for one another, and that Batman occasionally does something for a friendship that's not just business. And that was a really cool moment. Like I said, I like that as much as anything in this episode.
Agreed, 100%.
So now we jump to December 13th, 2003, the episode Comfort and Joy. And this is my favorite episode of the Justice League series. My favorite moment was when John relit the Central Power Battery on his own, but we won't talk about that right now. But this episode, it centers around the Justice League going their separate ways for a few days and during the holidays.
Mm. Yeah. No, I liked it too. It's my favorite episode of the Justice League series.
It's just so much fun. And this is something, again, like you talked about. I watch this every year around Christmas time.
Same, yeah.
And so Hawk Girl and John Stewart, Green Lantern, they get into a snowball fight. And it's very obvious that you're never going to win a snowball fight with a Green Lantern.
No.
Because at one point she knocks him under a bunch of snow and he uses these construct hands to come up out of the snow and just pelts her with a bunch of snowballs at once. And that's just such a humorous moment.
It really is. But it's also cheating in a snowball fight, but I digress. I also, that was a fun moment, but you know what, it was actually really, a couple of really touching moments. One was with the Flash and Ultra Humanite when they go visit those kids and deliver the toys, right?
Yeah, that was again, we see the episode unfold from several different perspectives. And first, Hawk Girl and Green Lantern decides to let her kind of choose what she wants to do for the holidays, and he follows along. And she takes him to this bar on an alien moon, where she then starts this huge bar fight because that's her idea of a good time. And he really must love her, because I'd be like, that's your idea of a good time.
I need James Gunn to recreate this. I need James Gunn to do a Christmas special, and this is part of it.
It would be entertaining.
With Aaron Pierre and Isabella Merced. And then, just to humor me, I think John Stewart should have a construct of a pen when Hawk Girl walks into the door, and he creates a construct of a pen, and it clicks. That's what I should do. Should be for me. Because if it was Green Lantern, you can bet that's the first construct that would make. But yeah, and yeah, it's just, I mean, Hawk Girl, you know, what's funny is, as unconventional as that being her favorite thing to do is, it's also on brand for her, so I kind of like that. Um, and again, the Ultra Humanite and Flash thing was really cool, just because.
So what you alluded to earlier was the Flash visits an orphanage in Central City, and the
Yeah.
kids want a particular toy called DJ Rubber Ducky.
Okay.
And if over Christmas, over the years, we've seen several toys get released, like Tickle Me Elmo,
No,
and get
it's
really
insane.
high at Christmas time, and
Yeah.
nobody can find one. And so the Flash is crisscrossing the world trying to find one, and he eventually has to go to the factory where they make them and get one.
Yeah. And then,
So at the same time, you talked about him being paired with Ultra Humanite in this, and I like that the toy gets destroyed in this episode, and Humanite decides that he's going to call a truce with the Flash and fix it.
yeah.
And he does this, but instead of Rubber Ducky doing his regular, he farts and he sings, instead, it's the Ultra Humanite reciting the Nutcracker. And the kids are very befuddled, but to hear DJ Rubber Ducky give them this recitation of the Nutcracker.
Yeah, and he says something about I always like bringing culture to the uncorrupted, right? What he says, and even at the end of that segment where Ultra Human is back behind bars, Flash gets him a tree.
And he gives them an aluminum tree, and it really shows that the heart of the Flash, and yeah, I like that moment that even one of his enemies on a holiday like that, the Flash can show compassion.
Right. Yeah. But I think my favorite pairing up of the episode is Superman and Martian Manhunter. I mean,
I'm going to agree, because usually I like anything involving Green Lantern, but this was so poignant because it really showcased the personalities that Superman was raised with. Because he takes Martian Manhunter home, because Martian Manhunter has no idea what Christmas is. And he takes him back to the Kent's farm. And by the way, if you want to know how to treat strangers, do like the Kents, because they were just like, hey, we're used to having aliens around here. Come on in.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's called being welcoming. That's called being a good neighbor.
Yeah, you may even don't round them up and deport them for no reason. Yeah. Makes sense.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, but I like you said, I think what that portion of the episode does so well is highlights, like you said, the values and the morals that Superman was raised with.
Yes.
And it really highlights the spirit of Christmas, right? Because with somebody like Martian Manhunter, he's a man without a home, like in the literal sense, in the sense that he's the last of his kind, much like Superman was, right?
And a couple of things that I really like this episode. Number one, we see that Superman believes in Santa Claus.
Yes, which is very important.
Also, his parents have to wrap his presents in lead-lined paper because he tries to peek.
By the way, I'm convinced Santa Claus, stopped coming to me a long time ago because I keep asking for the same thing, and that's for the Leafs to win the Stanley Cup, and he can't help me with that. So, that ship has long sailed. But I did laugh at the whole idea that Clark had a tendency to peek at his presence, because I would do the same thing, and I'm like, to me, it's like, if it's good enough for Superman, I can do it too.
It was really cool because Jean even says to Clark, he's like, I've never seen this side of you before. And again, it really humanized Superman. And again, it was so fun and such a heartwarming episode. And yes, I like many like dark superhero shows and movies, but this was just so heartwarming. And every time I watch it, it gives me that warm feeling inside. It's just
There needs to
such
be
a
a
powerful moment from that series.
there needs to be a I see, and I think we're finally getting that, and I think that's what the animated universe did so well. But I think we're finally going to get into live action is that there is the balance of, yeah, sure, there are dark characters. Batman's a dark, brooding guy. Um, but then you put him in a Christmas situation, like the episodes we talked about, and there's a degree of, it's not overt, but there's a lighter degree of Batman when Christmas is involved, right? And not every hero has to be dark and gritty. Like Superman isn't that, and so
you have to have that contrast
showcasing that he's a big kid,
members.
showcasing that he's a big kid at heart, I think is fantastic. But then, hey, listen, when it comes to leading the Justice League, he's got to show those leadership qualities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a multifaceted person or character can bring that to light when necessary, right? So the character work in this episode and the emotion that they fit into like 23 or 24 minutes, whatever it is, with all these different characters is what made made the series, but also this episode so great.
And I really wish that we would have another episodic Justice League animated show on.
Yeah.
And I enjoy the PG-13 movies that they put out. Don't get me wrong, but I would really love to have a show something along these lines again.
A show is necessary, I think. And it's been. I mean, we did have the Justice League action, but those were like short 5 to 15 minute episodes, and it was like it wasn't. It was entertaining, but it wasn't substantive enough, right? For me, like there wasn't.
And I watched DC Superhero Girls, but again, very much geared towards kids.
Yeah.
This walked that line between being for both kids and adults, and I wish we had something.
It was much more in the framework of what started it all was Batman the animated series, and then Superman the animated series, and then this. So, like I said, I hope they do bring back a fully fledged Justice League animated series at some point. But I also do have hope that I think, given James Gunn as the head of DC Studio or the co-head of DC Studios now, I think there's a very real possibility that we do get a Christmas special, like he did with Guardians.
Oh, I would love it.
Right, and so that would be cool to have something like that in the interim.
How about a Christmas special from OA? That's what I would like.
Well, I knew you would like that, but okay. Here's the rub though. Let's say James Gunn gives you that, and see, Logan, this is what I like doing to your uncle. Let's say James Gunn gives you the Christmas special from OA, but the star of the show is
I know where you're going.
Is Norm.
Yeah, I knew you.
What a Christmas that would be. Sign me up. Come on, James, do it. I want to see it, Logan wants to see it, and Donnie does not, which makes it even more fun.
The way I would write it would be all the Green Lanterns going, what's that smell coming from the chimney? Smells like something died. Oh, it's Nort.
But I do think that a Christmas special for the DC Universe is a distinct possibility in the future, in the live action sense, and I do hope we get a new Justice League animated series soon. But all of the episodes we talked about today are on my Christmas watching rotation.
Definitely.
And I recommend others put it on. But I think that's going to bring this episode to a close. I hope all our listeners enjoyed it, but I especially hope that, Logan, you had fun with this. This was especially for you. Yeah. And I hope it brings a lot of Christmas in June to you, because any time of year is good for Christmas, in my opinion. And Donnie and I
wholeheartedly agree.
And Donnie and I are the bosses of this show, so it's going to be Christmas when we say it's Christmas. And right now it's Christmas. So where's my gift, Donnie? No, I'm kidding. I don't need a gift. The gift was being able to do this for Logan, and I'm glad to be a part of it. And I hope that, like I said, Logan, I hope you love it. I hope you realize what a special superhero boy you are. And I'm sending you lots of loves and hugs and strength, buddy. And you keep fighting like Batman and Wolverine.
Yeah. And Logan, I just want to say that I think about you all the time, and you're never far from my mind. And I was a couple of months ago, I was there for one of Logan's treatments. I went to the hospital with him, and to watch that boy go through such pain with such intestinal fortitude was amazing, that he could showcase that kind of courage. And let me just say, buddy, Batman would be proud. And I love you so much.
Yes, sir, Batman would indeed be proud, and I'm sure he would. If Batman were real, you'd be one of his Robins or Nightwing or sidekicks or something. I'd stay in the Batcave and work on the computer and do all the. I'd be the guy in the chair and maybe have Alfred make me some food that I like. Right? You guys can do all the superhero work, like fighting stuff. I'll just chill in the Batcave.
Sir. It's supposed to be cold.
Yeah, well, no, I don't want that. That's not good. But like, yeah, I mean, does Alfred know how to make lasagna or something? Because that's what I would want. I'd be like, come on, Alfred, let's get the Italian cooking boy. Anyway, but Logan, we're thinking of you. We love you, buddy, and stay strong. And for anybody that enjoyed this Christmas in June that is not named Logan, we thank you for listening. And if you want to talk with us about Batman, the Justice League, or Christmas, you can on social media. So, Donnie, where do they track you down?
You can find me on Facebook and Blue Sky and Instagram, also YouTube, with lots of comic book product reviews. You can find me there as the name on your screen, The Emerald Enthusiast. Let's talk comics. Let's talk collectibles. Let's talk Green Lantern.
And remember, also, you can find me on social media as well. Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram. I'll put the links, a couple of the links anyway, in the description. The Facebook group for the podcast network is also going to be in the description. But remember that no matter what time of year, Batman and Christmas go well together. From the first animated episode to the last. So long, everybody.
So long, everyone.